Aquaman is the brilliantest brother.
Because Captain Unstoppable offered, and I think it was probably me said, no, you gotta have Tweak because he's gotta put on that southern accent.
Hello, Pav. You're just in time for us to go live.
Oh, fantastic!
Yeah.
Fantastic. I had to go through a quick wardrobe change at the demand of the chat.
You have, in fact, put on a short skirt. I am reliably informed.
It is rather short.
This
is the
I
thing.
have to see.
Suffice it to say, we got leg going on here, but I think for the sake of
you really have that much leg going on.
Mom?
Come on, stand up.
Oh my god! Oh jeez. Okay.
Oh my god!
As we promptly lose. Okay.
Now I have to
Are any of our viewers below the age of 18?
I was going to say,
I'm standing up, and you can't even really see it here.
No,
we can see your shirt.
I don't.
Yeah. Oh boy. Oh geez. Yeah. Oh, there we go.
Oh,
on there. Yeah.
Wow.
That's Ryuko.
I could have lived my entire life without seeing this.
The audience spoke. We gave them what they want, and in honor of our esteemed guest, we want him to feel comfortable.
And we can't necessarily supply the necessary explosions, but we can at least supply the short skirts.
I was too busy staring at C-Square's ladylike cankles.
Oh no, Sock, you missed it.
Sock, you missed the best thing ever.
Can I just point out is the first comment we got is from Derp saying Pav is not shirtless, ruined already. Well,
let's wait for that to catch up.
Yeah, I was saying, give it a few seconds and let's see what changes.
Yeah. Welcome to the stream, everybody. We've started as we mean to go on. This is just a horrible idea. You should not be here. Just a word of warning.
But on the other hand, you should, because we have short skirts and explosions, and he is awesome.
FBI is going to be knocking on our door any minute now.
How old was the gentleman in the video?
Too
old. Swear he's legal.
Absolutely haram. Right. Welcome to the stream, guys. We have a special guest, and it's not Pav's thighs, despite what he's trying to do.
Yes.
Despite the claim otherwise.
Yeah.
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, I am Device Heretic. Greetings.
I mean, you're everyone else on FimFix, so why not him as well?
Yeah, true enough. You want to be Braid Bound and Ghost of Heraclitus too, just to round it out?
Just to round it out.
I started making interesting blogs and decided to become a sellout.
Wow.
Wow, those were some pretty heavy shots.
Welcome to the stream, Skirts.
This is a pleasure to have you here.
Yeah, this is normally the point where we'd go over the previous round of reviews, but C-Squared has been too busy showing off his cankles, apparently, so they're not here.
A young, active woman will do that on occasion.
Yeah. Highly disrespectful.
In the 1950s, you would have been arrested.
I am flattered to be here. I do appreciate the extra accommodating Ferret Chan, who was able to wrestle me onto here.
Which is to say, I went to Skirt and went, "Hey, Skirts, do you want to be on the SA podcast?" I don't know. Pretty please? Fine. Hooray!
All it took was a pretty please.
That's generally how it goes, yeah. Sometimes not even the pretty please is required.
No.
So, yeah.
Please?
No reviews for this round, so let's just go straight to the next section where we unleash Ferret on our guest. And many questions.
I have a question for you.
Do you now?
Yes. How do you pronounce all the names in the books of Australia?
Oh!
I don't even remember who asked me this, but somebody said, "Oh my God, Skirts is going to be in it. You have to get him to do this."
Oh, jeez.
We gotta ease him into this. You can't just throw the hard questions at him first.
Oh, come on. He's been talking to me. He knows the risks.
I was thinking about that question earlier when I was hanging clothes, and then some lady drove me out of her house.
Yeah, that happens.
I do believe it goes Austreo, Elgin Biro, Innovator, Oderjot, Yorringer, Yerferida, Innenhutter, and now Utan.
Very nice.
Yeah.
There we go. All right.
Not too shabby. Not too shabby.
My biggest regret is that like 4 of those books you can phonetically pronounce the Y or the U as the consonant Y, and I was always trying to avoid more of the same, but whatever. Fuck it, horse words.
Yeah.
Fuck it, horse words. Mm-hmm. Second question has to be, how on earth do you find the time in the day to churn out so many horse words?
On so many different accounts.
Yeah.
Everyone can write. Not everyone can write good. I'm in the former, not the latter.
So
it helps.
Your idea is rather than quality, it's a quantity thing?
Yeah, something like that. It's sort of like a river of diarrhea instead of like a trickle of.
Okay, no drinking when Skirts is talking.
See, I have a stream all the time. It's Dr. Pepper straight through the urethra.
Yes. I've tried to drink the essence of senpai here.
You got both the skirts and you got the can. All you need is something to deposit it in when you're done.
Absolutely.
So I desperately hope none of Skirts' under 18 fans are watching the stream.
No, but it looks like Noble Jury
shot.
is. Judging from the chat, I think I hear someone commenting on it. Right now.
Jake is absolutely commenting on it at the moment. So
Jake is high. I love him.
A couple of people from the Noble Jury. I don't think the Skype chat itself is seeing it.
we can confirm Jake is 100% hot. He is
But all-
damn hot.
God, yes.
But all Fruit Loops aside, if you want to actually write as often as I do, it's important not to have a life. I'm quite fortunate to have the time availability to donate. Like I want to say maybe 2 to 3 hours, give or take, on the shit that comes out. But I haven't really written.
It's a highly filtered river of diarrhea at this point. So.
Yeah, I suppose so.
Say.
It's really paint by the numbers. I feel like it's been a while since I actually done anything of legit effort or interest. I am relatively proud of the latest Australia stuff that's been produced. I mean, simply because I had to. Time constraints and space constraints, I've had to more or less double down on the stories, so to speak.
After all, space is a waste and time is a crime.
Indeed.
But do you find that? Go ahead.
Oh, I'm done.
Well, I was just going to ask, the fact that you have all of these long-running, ongoing stories, like, do you find that that's helpful or hurtful? The fact that you have, like, all of, jumping ship and hopping between these very different topics day after day.
Well, everything is hurtful, Pav, like what you're drinking. No.
Not Dr. Pepper. 0 out of 10.
It's mostly not so cool because even though it's engaging, it's there's I've been needing to write like story 100 for SS&E, and I haven't been because I'm so dedicated to all the other stuff more or less. I mean, I'll maybe after work or maybe like in the morning or on a day off or something, I'll hammer down the dailies, 3 stories, 3 different accounts, and okay, they might not be the hardest things in the world to write, but they do take time, and after maybe 2.5 hours or something of doing that, it's like, oh, now I can get to writing something with quality, or I can just sit on YouTube and let Entropy take its course.
Fair enough. You sound like a man describing his daily WoW grind. You have to do all those dailies.
Well, I used to do a lot of that. That's pretty much the same thing. It's dig your own grave.
Yeah, pretty much. Except you have to pay for it, so
Well, you pay for it with your own self-respect this time.
Fair enough. Diarrhea.
I mean, at least it's cheap.
Yeah, Psycho Motorboat on the SA forum says, take a shot every time Skirt says a ridiculous metaphor.
No, the idea is we don't wind up in the hospital with alcohol poisoning. We want to actually finish the stream and be conscious the next day.
Okay.
Well, speak for yourself there.
Fair point. But I mean, how are you going to play Fallout if you're too drunk to see the keys?
Oh, speaking of Fallout.
Oh, no.
No.
You had to go there.
It's been a pleasure, y'all. Good night.
Not friggin' happening.
Not
All
yet.
right. What's the appeal of Apple Dash?
Ooh.
You're asking? I thought we were talking Fallout. Oh, that's a good one. I'm sorry.
No, we're talking about you. I want to know Apple Dash.
Pilot's trying to distract me in Skype. Anyways. Now, where did that begin? I don't know. I think the very first time I ever watched any sort of pony, I was like, I'm gonna give this one a shot because it's about the magical lesbian horse, right? That was like the Sonic Rainboom episode. Didn't quite win me over, but I immediately grew to Rainbow Dash because I thought she was the coolest out of the characters, and I guess from Brony's standpoint, the most relatable, the one that is less overtly feminized and such. And of course, because I wrote a lot of stories based on that character, fixated with her, and actually shipping occurs, and I don't quite remember where it all began, but the whole Applejack Rainbow Dash thing has always fascinated me. And in 2011, 2012, I'd have like some sort of headcanon relationship story in their head. I never got around to writing it, and finally, I think in late 2013, it's like, I'm going to start doing it. And it's like, what, maybe a year and a half, 2 years later, I still haven't started, even though I called the story Apple Dashery, but whatever.
I was going to say, don't you have an entire account dedicated to Apple Dashery?
So I've told myself and other people, but it's a flagrant lie, you know. Yeah, Apple Dash can't melt steel beams. It's not true, not possible.
So what about the relationship appeals to you so much? Like, is it just the similarities between them, of both them being very sort of down to earth and very like striving for their goals, or is it
the colors
the contrast between them, or is it just the color complements?
Sure, let's go with the color complementary. No, I think it's rather obvious, and now that I've declared Applejack as best pony, I think I vicariously want to see myself ship with her through Rainbow Dash. How's that for some psychological bullshit?
I'll drink to that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
wholeheartedly.
I have a question for Skirts.
Okay.
Recently there's been a lot of stuff about Austria and its sequels being something like The Longest Story in Finfic, or something approaching that. I recently discovered that you have been writing long stories for a lot longer than I realized, and Ponyfic is by far not your first foray into the mad world of fanfiction. Could you elaborate on that?
Could I elaborate? You know, like what? Talk about stuff I've written in the past?
Yeah, your non-Finfic works.
I'd be interested to hear that, because I didn't know you'd been writing before Finfic, so I'm not surprised to find out.
I, ramble about that stuff all the time. I'd say maybe there's like a fraction of people who follow me on Finfic who are aware of my Teen Titans stuff, like back in 2004, 2005. It's a horrible, shitty fanfic, but I wrote something called These Black Eyes, as under the author name of Post, just simply that, Post. It just had a name, Post on fanfiction.net, and then it had... I'm
surprised you managed to get that name.
Yeah, well, it was. I signed on to fan fiction like back in 2000. I'm old. I'm old, by the way. Yeah. And it was a story I wrote a lot like Australia, the same kind of style where I would basically write something. I would write a chapter every 2 days, and we're talking like maybe 2K or 4K word chapters. And about a year and a half into it, from 2004 to 2005, it hit about 2.7 million words. Just constant shitting stuff out, and I can't promise it was good quality, but people enjoyed it, and they made a message board around it. That was where the whole Spaces Waste forum from back in the day was created, and eventually it petered off because of like higher education and other stuff that just kind of dragged me behind, got me distracted in a good way, but it was really good experience, and I wouldn't take it back for any reason. That was, again, 2004, 2005. Before then, I wrote some Resident Evil fan fiction and some...
Which Res Evil, or just in general?
It was kind of a weird Gary Stu story set after Resident Evil 1, but I think it incorporated characters Resident Evil 1 and then occasional characters from 2 and 3, but...
Does it feature the same sort of fantastic dialogue as the first game? Because I remember the dialogue in that being something special.
I wrote it after the remake came out, so it was considerably uninspired.
Well, here's a more piercing question. Was the main character Barry?
No, it was an OC Gary Stu character, and then there was...
Remember, he says it was a Gary Stu.
Yes.
Gary. Ironically, the noble jurist might be interested to know the main character's name was Shell, and that'll go a long way.
Very cool.
I like how two people just started laughing, and they were so, okay. We do have a very quick question from Zappinator in the thread.
I noticed you have him crucified on your back wall there.
Yes, we do, in fact. When will you write a story in which Applejack pursues a career in professional wrestling? And I'm assuming breaks the Spanish announcer's table. So,
Well, obviously. I mean, that has to be like the first thing that happens. It literally opens with the Spanish announcer screaming and raving about the fact that she just broke his table.
Well, there was a story called oh god, I've written so much shit. There's a story called Apple Loader, based on the fan art that Zappinator did, where there's a sequence. It basically has a story to do with like Applejack got this like machine that looks like the loader thing from Aliens. Yeah, like an exosuit. And and she's really happy to have it. And
like the entire thing all at once, and every single chapter title is just a letter spelling out Apple Loader.
Yeah, exactly. I'm gonna try to go for stupid patterns like that. But no, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with not liking it. Stupid stuff is good. I think the internet's made stupid a very stupidly good word. There is basically a sequence where Rainbow Dash is trying to introduce Applejack to something that'll entertain her enough that she'll ditch the exosuit, and so they go to like a wrestling event, and I think some random stuff happens. She grabs like a chair and launches it with the Apple suit, and then knocks someone off the ring. I think I once considered doing something wrestling related, but then that comic came out, that My Little Pony comic that revealed like Charlie's sister is like a professional wrestler.
Yeah.
So what's the point now if like Simpsons has done it?
Because you can do it better.
I can do it worse, but more entertaining.
See, I think that counts as a form of better. More entertaining to me is better by that definition.
Different. I'll go with the word different.
But I mean, that's an interesting question, though. Because I mean, if you've got 100 stories on your main account plus all of these, other stories floating around in the aether, I mean, there's got to be, some level of this idea has been done before, but that, I would say that really hasn't stopped you from what I've seen. You just go out and write whatever you want. Sure is what you want to do.
I think it's fair to say an awful lot of what Skirts writes is pretty unique.
Yeah.
I don't think I've encountered anything quite like, oh god, I Met a Pony in Hell. No, that was Jason the Human. God damn, I'm getting all mixed up now.
No, that was me.
No, that was you. That was you.
No, that was him.
That was me. That's an interesting. If that's your age, your fanfic age, if you remember about that, because that was during the League of Extraordinary General Quotes thing.
When everyone thought you wrote, what was it? Oh God.
It was actually uploaded under
Chromosomes and Odomini.
Odomini.
Could we start at the beginning of the story? Because there's probably, like, I know this story, but there's probably some people on the stream who do not know the full history of this one.
Well, I wouldn't mind hearing Paul say it, because I've had a big blog about it back in the day. So.
Oh God, that was fun.
So the League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, to my understanding, because I wasn't a participant in this. Gentle Colts.
Got a horse fuck.
So this was a thought experiment that was dealing, an experiment really, that was dealing with the whole concept of, authors worried about, if they were, getting a lot of followers just because of their follower count, or if it really was because of the quality of their stories. And so this was a coordination of there must have been like a dozen or 2 dozen people that were participating in this thing.
Think about 2 dozen. But of course, it was another idea.
It was, in fact, an OBS idea.
Yes.
God damn it,
that was WD.
I thought it was Wander.
Wander, I think it was Wander.
Yeah.
Wander, I think it was Wander and OBS. Like, I recall OBS being a decent member, but I think it was Wander's original idea. Anyway, if you want, I can pick up and keep explaining Pavi. You can keep going.
Yep, go for it.
So basically, the idea was, again, like Pav said, the concern was, are people liking my story because it's actually good, or are they just liking it because I wrote it? Am I just cashing in on my name brand recognition rather than actually being a good writer? So they basically took a bunch of fairly well-known writers, including you, Skirts, and OBS and D and such, and then went and found a bunch of authors they felt were really good who nobody knew. And essentially, they wrote stories for each other. So Skirts would write a story that would go up on this Relative Unknowns, and the Relative Unknowns would go up on Skirts' account, and to see how they did.
Does chromosome count as a relative unknown?
Arguably speaking, no. It was pretty well.
No.
I thought it was pretty well established, and he wrote White Box, and that was his claim.
Yeah.
I would say
He wrote
Chromosome
White
was
Box.
pretty well
That was pretty
established
much all he
because
was
of
known
White
for.
Box.
Yeah.
But I don't know if I'd say he was a well-known author, because it was literally everybody only sort of knew him for White Box and not really much else.
Was White Box? Did that come out
I think
before
White Box
fanfiction
was
was a
only-
thing?
That was 2011, dude.
Yeah, White
Yeah.
Box came out before
So
then.
If White
was
Fox was
ages
before
ago.
film fiction, then I think it's safe. It might be safe to say that at that time, not many people on film fiction knew him, but people
Well,
in the,
I
who
remember
were
White Box
involved in
coming
the
to
community
Finfic.
knew him.
I think
I remember
he re-released
White
it on
Box
Finfic.
Finfic, it was top of the feature box for a fair while. So
Yeah,
I
but
think
did he write it originally on Finfic, or was
Oh,
it?
No,
I
he
don't
wrote
know.
it. He wrote it in. He had a bunch of
T-Docs.
colored text, so
Yeah.
Finfic doesn't have that functionality. So he kept it in Google Docs.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Oh dear. Right. We do have some more questions in the thread if anyone else wants to
Yes, indeed.
go for them. Couple from
see.
Jake.
Yep.
You have an awful lot of projects. Some of them haven't taken off. Can you tell us about them, including the failed Bon project?
Oh,
I really like that story. It
No,
messed
well,
with my head a lot, but
no,
I
there
really
was a
enjoyed
failed
it.
one apparently.
yeah,
Yeah,
that's,
I'm kind of
12?
curious
it's
to
a
know how that
very
was failed.
it's a very depressing and unhappy story, which means it's perfect for me.
I didn't even find it depressing and unhappy. I just found it really, like when I thought about it, I found it really depressing and unhappy. But at first, I just found it really confusing and kind of unsettling almost. Like
You're
it,
talking about Bond 6?
yeah.
The original one, yeah. Bond 6 was it was a contest entry. It was some sort of combination of, I think, something that Roger Dodger was doing and some art competition. And so they had a bunch of art people draw something that had to do with ponies and music, and then they would have a contest for who did the best art, and then the writers would take a look at those, and they would take a picture of choice, and then they would write a story about it, and then we also had to judge other people's stuff. So I must have selected that. The best one I read out of that was one that Demetrius, I think, had written. Give me a second here. Sorry. Oh boy, time is go by. But yeah, it was something that Sona had written about it. But me, I decided to take this story of Bon Bon and Lyra sitting on a bench playing music, and I thought I'd just go fucking full Xenover Renegade Angel with it and have it be this crazy acid trip experience where I think Bon Bon was having this eternally recurrent nightmare that she had to break out of, and it turns out that she's in a coma. No, wait, it's actually Lyra in a coma, and she's on her deathbed, and Bon Bon's speaking to her, and that's why she's consciously getting all this stuff. It was a bad story, but
I wouldn't say it was a bad story though. I thought it was very interesting. Again, it was like reading an acid trip. It really was. It unsettled me because it felt really strange. I wouldn't even say it scared me, but it felt unsettling because it was so strange. It really did sort of feel like an alternate sort of form of reality almost. Sorry.
I sat down and wrote it in maybe 5-6 hours, I don't know. But I had an idea of doing a weird kind of a sequel thing, but going all out and trippy. I've always wanted to do something, and by explaining it, it's kind of ruining the whole nature of it. But what doesn't matter? It's a failed project, anyways.
Yeah, Bond 12 is dead, right?
Yeah, where I always wanted to do a very metafic, where the actual fanfic itself is just the tip of the iceberg, and there's all this other weird stuff connected to it, which makes you think that it's something above, above normal. And the sequel was going to be, Bon Bon. It was her perspective. Lyra is dead, and she suddenly finds a portal that takes her to 1993 Epcot at Walt Disney World, and she meets a human there who has a physical resemblance to Lyra Heartstrings. And when she keeps going back and forth to the Ride Horizons, that's near closing, she keeps having this weird, almost the night face-up situation where the world of Ponyville looks more and more like a dark ride full of animatronics, and the world of Disney, with humans, feels more real. And she starts tripping balls, and it gets really weird and crazy, and the story kind of collapses in on itself and stuff. And on top of that, it was going to have, you laugh all you want, it's all fine. It was going to have links.
Laughing because it's interesting, not laughing at making fun.
It was going to have links to a pretend message board that would take place in an alternate universe future where people were reacting to the story called Bond, times 12, and they were talking about how great the story is, but as they kept reading it, they kept falling into madness, and each of the threads would deteriorate and stuff. And I actually had a group of people show up in a Skype group, try to plan this out, and we're going to have this weird kind of meta extension of the fic outside of the fic, so people could click on these links and they would find the rabbit hole would just go and go and go and go. Of course, it failed because it was too ambitious and I didn't have the time commitment for it. But I really think that would be awesome if someday someone would be able to put together a project where the fanfic is just the top layer and there are all these references and stuff, and it would link to YouTube clips and forum threads and DeviantArt accounts, all creating this web of lore that extends outside of like the normal story itself. And you'd have to take the time and attention to look into it to find all the details and discover there's a whole mythos to it. You know, a little bit like a fucking hey there, princess. Sort of like a fucking House of Leaves kind of thing, you know?
Yeah.
It reminds me a little bit of what Marble Hornets did, where they're obviously one of the ones who popularized the modern version of Slenderman. And one of the things that they did was during their video series, their account got quote-unquote hacked by this other channel, and it led to another channel, which led to another channel, and it just sort of went down this whole rabbit hole of sort of freaky videos and stuff
Exactly.
like that.
I love that stuff.
It makes me think a lot of like alternate reality games and such, like they did for.
Exactly. It was exactly that.
Oh, what was it? That bloody Godzilla film, Cloverfield, had a really huge ARG they did that was actually surprisingly good stuff. That I recall seeing. 9 Inch Nails did one at one point that I have to admit I got a huge kick out of, because it was really complicated and convoluted, and it basically ended up with them herding a bunch of kids onto a bus, driving them to a warehouse, taking all their cell phones and going, "You guys are fucking idiots. Here's a concert." They literally put them in a bus with blacked out windows and like drove them to the middle of nowhere, patted them down, took all their cell phones, and then let them in, and these kids did it.
Wow.
And it was just one of those, like, I mean, kudos to you. You got to see a free private 9 Inch Nails concert, but wow. I don't know. That's.
Yeah, that's interesting. We do have a related question from Jake. Ignoring the amount of effort it would take to make a sequel, which sequel would you like to do the most? And obviously, Bond to the Power of 12 is a pretty big contender, apparently.
Well, it was, but I don't think it'd fall through with it. The problem with that kind of a story is that the magic of it is the degree to which it can be incidentally discovered. And if you're like a moron like me with like 5,000 subscribers, that kind of antithetical to the idea. So I have like pondered ideas in the past of doing similar things where I would create like another alt and like have a story on that where people would read it and it would mutate into something else and be like, what the hell is this? This is something more interesting. And, you know, I always like the idea of having a story or an idea that you have to look at twice to understand more to what's going on, and that the actual the nature of the medium, the delivery itself, becomes like an experience. I don't think I've ever quite achieved that, but it's something I would love to do if I ever had the ability. And it underlines another problem with my stuff in general, that I have shit tons of ideas. I have so many ideas that it gives me headaches. I just don't have the time or the effort to get to them. But Jake Hour, he asked about like what I would like to write a sequel to. I mean, there's a bunch of stuff that I've written before that, I would like to do a sequel to it. I would like I'm in a Pony in Hell. I've always dreamed of turning that into a trilogy. That it would very roughly follow the Dante idea of after hell, there's purgatory and there's heaven. And I've had like a basic idea for what the purgatory story would be, that it would basically take place in some sort of like giant like underworld Hoover town full of demons and mixed ponies and humans, and it would have an event where like Lyra would more or less turn to the dark side, and the main character was his name Sean, would have to help save her, turn her back, and we go into angelic and heaven and hell themes and stuff. But that's just not exactly on the menu. Hello, Sedna.
Would you also, avoid writing them as cantos and such?
No, I'm not that fucking anal about it.
Oh, God. That sounds like a great idea, but oh God, are you gonna do that?
That would be Ponky's bag, not mine. Hello, Sedna. I once had an idea of a weird kind of Godfather 2-ish prequel/sequel of that, but never got around to it.
Fair enough. I'm going to let Ferret ask a couple of questions now before I go on to any others that we've got.
All right, my first question has to be, what is with all the alts? Like, does it help you sort of stay focused? You know, like one out where you write Australia and one out where you write Apple Dash, or is it you're constantly like trying to reinvent yourself, or what?
Well, and at one point they were fairly secret alts, weren't they? And then the secret.
Yeah. Then I realized, oh wait, I'm a whore, and I need to let everyone know that. Right. There's a long story behind a lot of them. It would take up the entire stream, but basically, Imploding Colon, lovely story behind that. Imploding Colon came from a phrase I was writing in the End of Ponies chapter. It was like the opening. It's one of the opening segments of the Dredgemane / Pinkie Pie storyline. Scootaloo is in the wasteland, and she's in the remnants of Ponymodium, which is like a piece of the empire that Luna built inside the moon during her 1,000-year reign, and she's having to fly out Indiana Jones style. The whole thing's like collapsing on her. I must have been like 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock in the morning writing this shit, and I thought I could do one of my lovely metaphors, Motorbart, where like where Scootaloo is described as flying. Scootaloo is described as flying through the exit, like this passageway, this doorway to exit, like the falling temple, and I described it as her flying through an imploding colon.
Beautiful.
And when it got to Vimbert, my knight in shining armor, who was editing it at the time, he said he was like laughing his ass off for like 5 minutes straight after reading it. And so
I could easily see that being right up his alley. He shows up in the pre-reader chat every once in a while, and we always get really excited when he does. Vimbert, you're alive!
That's
kind of like when Seattle shows up. Everyone gets super hyped.
True.
So that was the idea of the name. When I was pondering Austreo, at the time I was very self-conscious about how many subscriptions that Skirts had gotten. Obviously not now, but back then it was an issue. And so I thought,
you had yet to accept your natural status as an attention whore?
I didn't realize that I was like number 5 or 6 on the site until Punky told me like in late 2012. I'm like, wait, what? But anyways, I didn't feel that I should have written Austreo on Skirt's account because I didn't want to ping everyone, with a lot of author alerts. And besides, I didn't know exactly what I was writing at the time. I had like a very vague idea, and I knew that if I went full hog with it, it'd be longer than Satan's dick. It would just be incredibly stupidly long. So I created the alt, Imploding Colon, and I started writing on that, and it was great because it was one of those underlying things where it's a mysterious book that people have to look at twice when they pick it up, and that's stuck with it ever since. People all the time in threads when I go like, what the hell is this story about? And wonderfully, all the people who read it, like Noble Jury and stuff, they're very coy about it and like, oh, read it for yourself, discover. Rainbow Dash flies east, east force, ha ha ha, lol, top kick. And when
that's the thing that kills people.
Rest in peace, Barrett.
I just want someone, once this stream is over, I just want someone to go through this and isolate Skirt saying lol top kick. I just want that to be used.
You can make it a ringtone, it'll be beautiful.
Yeah.
And when the story got big, maybe I want to say October or so of 2012, and like the whole Austreo group had joined. They weren't. I don't know if they were called Noble Jury yet. I think they happened after Elgin Biro.
Noble Jury happened when Elgin Biro came out.
Because it was an anagram of Elgin Biro, right. But there was still, the group had formed before that, the second book. And when I found out that there was
I think we started like chapter 120-something maybe?
Yeah, you and Pilot made it up. You and Pilot invented it. And when I found out that there was a... God, you must know the story. When I found out that there was a...
He might. I mean, I don't know. I'd be pretty suspicious because it's C, but it's possible.
I might know a thing or two.
When I found out that, like, basically a Skype group had been made based on the story, I was like, well, I want in on that shit. So I created a third alt, Blue Harvest, named after my porn folder. And I decided to stalk the group as a pretend fanfic author and ask, I think it was actually Pilot, because I think I may have asked C-Squared first, and C-Squared is like, ask Pilot for the... for the invitation to the jury chat. So I got in Skype, and then I got invited into the chat, and I was lurking there as Blue Harvest. Nobody knew who I was as they were reading and commenting on Austreo. And that went on for maybe a course of a month and a half until it got to the end of Austria Book 1, which was the chapter 200. I had like maybe a 6-hour stint one night when I wrote the climax, and I think only 2 people, Pilot and Rainbow Dash, were up at that time. And they watched live as the story unfolded, and it's a rather grim ending to Australia 1, and they're like, well, what the hell is this? Where are we going? And then I exposed myself. I'm like, what did I tell you that Australia Book 2 is going to happen tomorrow, and then I'm going to make Pilot into a zebra? And then they figured out that, because I did the thing at the end, and they realized, oh, Blue Harvest is some floating colonist skirts. It's Skirtception. He's been stalking us the whole time. Lol. And that was legend in the making, you know.
I think Pilot and I had figured out that you were imploding colon a little earlier than that, but we had no idea you were Blue Harvest. Like, we had absolutely no idea.
I think you told us at one point.
I'd given plenty of suspicions. I'd given plenty of reasons for y'all to suspect it, because in the story there's like a lot of tiny references to, I think, background pointing the stuff I was writing at the time. But I didn't actually tell anyone until that event, and then it was still a secret from the public. Noble Jurist knew it, so that's how you knew it, Roz, because I told everyone in like Smash Announce Table. But afterwards, maybe in late 2013, I ended up doing some sort of revelation post, and I exposed everything.
Also, I found the old PM Blue Harvest sent me.
Oh Lord.
Yeah. He just asked if there was a Skype group. I told him to give me or Pilot his Skype name. He gave it to me. I guess I had AFK'd because I know it was Pilot who added him.
Are you in a basement right now, C-Squared? I only just
Yes, I am. Can you hear that?
Not really. Because I didn't really look over to your screen and didn't notice until.
No, I mean, like, can you hear the air conditioner being obnoxious?
Oh,
no. A little bit, but not really.
Okay.
I like how you have the.
What I noticed was more like all the stuff in your back and like the rafters.
Yeah.
I love how you look back and like, oh yeah, I guess there's a background. Darn, the drop sheet fell.
I just like how you turned around when there's literally a picture of it on your screen in front of you.
No, I can't see my screen because my laptop's covering the
because
screen.
your laptop's
the screen is super cracked and dead, and he refuses to buy a new one for some
Everything
reason.
is the fault of your crappy laptop, C-Squared.
Yeah, pretty much. Can we just like start up a Seattle's Angels trust fund to buy a new laptop? Because apparently he's not willing to do it himself.
That requires money. And that's a thing I don't really have.
Fair enough.
C-Squared, I like how you have the handsome dude and the deep voice modulation to make it look like the guy.
Technology is incredible.
Never trust a woman who exposes her cankles.
It's as good as, the girlfriend I've got who goes to cons and pretends to be me so that people don't realize I'm actually a ferret.
Yeah.
Super.
Exactly. Yeah. I kind of want to zoom in on like Pav's cam so I can steal his WoW account.
It's not a bad idea.
WoW account.
Are you ever going to continue Big Dumb Object?
I've actually thought of that. I've thought of like just as a joke, like continuing it, but like going all fucking like David Lynch on it, and like out of nowhere, and just have it go to hell because of all the fanfics.
I like that story.
Because of all the fanfics I could probably wreck, I could probably get away with that one. But yeah, I had an ending in mind, but that was during my extra horror stage, so I don't think I was really in a place to execute it. I'm planning to finish the things Tavi says soon. I'm not in love with that story like everyone else seems to be, and I kind of have. It's in the end game mode, and when it does finish, I'm actually kind of thinking, and I'm terrible at committing to this stuff. But I'm thinking of going back and making Ponies Are the Size of Cats They Love to Cuddle as my daily, as my third daily, so that will be finished, and then I'll have my itinerary cleared for other stuff. And
then sort of start picking up and finishing other things. Fair enough.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. Because we
I have to admit, I loved when Things Tavi Says came into the inbox at EQD, because there were so many people going, what took him so long to submit it? And I remember actually asking you, and your response was, well, I was waiting for the cover art to be finished.
Yeah, really good cover art done.
It is. It's beautiful cover art.
It's pretty nice cover art. It's true. Would you actually have 4 different questions asking when you're going to finish various stories? One of them was Tavi Says. End of Ponies and Appledashery are the other two main ones. So.
Wow, only one other story you asked about, Appledashery. Interesting. Appledashery will probably, if I still stay committed to that, it's going to be a long time before it finishes. There's people who read that. 4chaners are right to say that it's all a masochistic kind of a thing if you read that story, but it's going places. I have a plan for it, but it's like in phases, and right now it's still more or less in phase 1 of, I want to say, 2.5, if that makes any sense. So I'm talking like...
So it's like Metal Gear Solid 5.
It's more like Metal Gear Solid 4, and you're not even outside of that place where like the nanomachines are making everyone sick.
Oh,
Nanomachines, son.
Right. It's probably going to be another, I don't know, maybe another 1.5 years or something before I think that thing's done. As for In the Ponies, in all seriousness, I have considered at this point, if I was to go back to that, it would be radically different, because I've made the asshole statement before of nobody wants to see In the Ponies finished, they just think they do. And what I mean by that is that I think nostalgia, like 2011 nostalgia, makes us overly fond for that story. It's really, I can't shake the purple prose stigma because of that. And to some extent, and also because of Background Pony, but especially for that one, mostly because I was very obviously trying so hard to make it something better than it was. And that's not a bad thing. I don't believe purple prose is bad if you know what you're doing. I don't know what I'm doing. I just had the forward
to admit it.
I had the forward momentum to make it look like I know what I'm doing, like Peter Jackson, for example. So, and I had a lot of great editors at the time, and Vimbert was like inspiration for me to be better than what I was. But the type of flowery diction and the insane use of metaphor and themes in that, layers over layers, I don't quite have the patience to do now. I think Australia lays the groundwork with the kind of stuff I enjoy doing, and to go back and try to emulate the style on top of picking up the plot of In the Ponies, to me, is possible, but I don't think I actually have the wherewithal to do that. So if I was to actually continue it at all at this point, I think I told this to Jerry before, I would most likely, I would change what exists within the Ponies. I would call it In the Ponies Volume 1. And then I would continue and I would call it In the Ponies Volume 2, and it would be more like the style I write today. It would be a self-admission that the diction, the prose, and the style is going to be different, but it's still going to carry the story. It's going to be like, I would tell myself that In the Ponies Volume 1 was done by Ridley Scott, and the second part is done by James Cameron. Basically.
Not a bad way of looking at it, really.
Yeah, I mean, we all really evolve as authors over even, just like a year. So to go back to something that you've written multiple years ago and try, like you say, emulating that style, it can put extra constraints and extra difficulty on top of an already difficult project. So
right.
Yeah, having an approach like that where you just say, okay, look, that was then, this is now.
Not only that, but you've also got the problem that a lot of long-time authors or long-time story authors struggle with the idea that as you write, you get better, so your later chapters are always going to be better than your early chapters, so you're trying to battle against yourself to go back and fix the early chapters. And it's just a never-ending cycle. So that's an interesting way of approaching it. So,
well, it could probably work in the realm of fan fiction. I'm pretty sure if, like, frickin' what's his name? Because I don't read it. The guy who does A Song of Ice and Fire. If he died, thank you. If he died and like maybe his,
I don't know. I like the guy better.
Yeah. If like the guy died and then his daughter, the gal, tried to continue the story, would they call it Volume 2? Would it sell?
In all honesty, it would sell because it would have his name on it. It would have her name too, but a lot of people would just be buying it because it would have his name and because she'd probably be working off
it's
of
like
his notes.
Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy.
Yes.
Ewan Colfer wrote book 5 or whatever it was in the trilogy.
Yeah.
So,
and that sold like gangbusters.
Yeah.
And besides, if like the gal wrote like the second half of it, then it means the HBO version would have less dicks.
True.
I don't know.
Still die.
Oh well.
It depends on what she's into. It might have more dicks.
More dicks is always better.
Yeah, but more black dicks.
Yeah.
Bigger, blacker dicks.
But will it have forcible touchings?
Here we go.
Oh boy.
Nope.
That is not responding. Fab is not responding.
He's
Nope, 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 nope.
I had to do
I'm
it.
just
That was
waiting
too
for,
much of a
like-
perfect setup. I regret nothing.
Mm-hmm.
You could
Nothing
pinpoint the
whatsoever.
exact moment his brain stopped working.
I know, and I love watching it.
It's
It's just
fantastic.
so funny.
We do have a question, another one from Jake, who has just asked.
Oh,
you
hang
one
on,
of the
hang on.
questions right
We've skipped over one.
now. Aren't we? Oh, yes, we do. We
Yeah.
did.
Any other pairings you're fond of, or is Apple Dash the one true pairing? Asks Manafi.
This is relevant to my interests.
At this point in time,
And he's back.
Well, yeah, we're talking about OTPs.
Mhm.
second favorite is at this point Sunset Sparkles. It'd be Sunset Shimmer and Twilight Sparkle. I've not been doing my weekly blogs like I used to, but if I did, I would just be ranting all over about that pairing. I find it very. As soon as I watch the first act of like Equestria Girls 3 and like Twilight starts like singing through the halls, like, oh, she's fucking Cinderella. I'm on board.
We're good with
then,
that.
but beyond that, big fan of Twixie, which is Trixie and
Oh,
Twilight Sparkle.
Trixie.
Mhm.
What about Moxie?
I've seen the comic of that, and it's amusing, but that's about as far as I'm willing to toss that.
Pretty serious business.
I love it.
Yeah, absolutely.
I
I think it's
really
very
like
serious business.
I like Flaherty, which is Fluttershy and Rarity.
Ooh, that's a good one.
More of that done. And another really good one because I seen like some fan art of it done, and I've loved this idea since Days of Old, but it would be so hard to write, and that's Zecora and Big Macintosh. From the perspective of Apple Bloom trying to play as like little sister / Cupid.
Aww.
That's
You
season
trying to
one.
play matchmaker?
Kinda. I mean, there's some really good fan art of that, and I've seen great. I think I think he might be Russian. I feel like an idiot for not knowing, but Matt Hitaru did a bunch of like Zecora. Good, thank you, Raz. He did a bunch of art back in the day of Zecora, and one of them has like Zecora. Obviously, must be talking in rhyme to Big Macintosh, but she's blushing and looking side and side like her thought bubbles, her bashing her head against the wall. I love that art.
That comic. I remember that comic. That was
Oh my
amazing.
gosh, I remember
Yeah.
that. That's adorable.
I just want to point out all through this shipping discussion, Pav was in the background just commenting on Skirts' nominations like a wine taster commenting on vintages.
Yeah. Oh, yes.
I did notice Pab kind of bobbing his head up and down, or like,
excellent vintage.
yes.
I'm actually a fan of Flashlight. No joke.
Mhm.
I think that's actually because it pisses so many people off, it makes it.
I was gonna say,
Yeah.
there are so many people who are just like, I'm into Flashlight because the haters, because everyone else loves it, and that makes it funny.
You've written a couple of Flash stories, haven't you?
I've written like maybe 2 of them. I think I would love to write more. I told Jake this one since he's stalking the stream. I would love to write a satire of well, not so much a satire, more of a spin-off of A Heart of Darkness / Apocalypse Now, where Marlowe is Flash, and then Kurtz is Shining, and like the lady in the Sepulchre City is Cadence. And so Flashlight is going out to find Kurtz because, well, in this case, to find Shining Armor, because Shining Armor suddenly went AWOL and basically ditched Cadence, and Cadence is like, my love, why? And Flash goes on this journey into like some sort of, frozen north war zone thing, and discovers that like Shining Armor only loved Cadence because Cadence unwittingly put a spell of love on him, and so he has to get away from her to be like sane.
Oh, wow.
And it brings up like all these themes and stuff of tragic romance and commitments and whatnot, and it would be basically like a Heart of Darkness kind of take, but ponies.
That's
That would be
fascinating, though.
So, what's stopping you?
I think that so many ideas.
Questions like that. No.
You had to say it.
No.
Of course I did.
I have, like I said, I have so many story ideas, and I once had an epiphany earlier this year when I was kind of in a hole and I was not uploading a lot of stuff, where I kind of thought to myself, as horribly egotistical as it sounds, I have a duty to get these story ideas across, and there are like a couple.
Self-centered, though. I think it's appropriate. I mean, the fact is, you are an incredibly popular author because people really like your stuff. And I do think that if that's what helps you write, then I think that's perfectly beneficial.
But I don't even think it has to do with anything with popularity. I think that it's just your motivation as an author that there is these burning stories that we have in our chest that we need to we feel the need to get out there and to share with the world and to have this idea that's half formed and half published. That can be very frustrating for an author. So.
I've been telling myself when I get over the latest hump, which is SSNE Story 100, the Trixening, I have some ideas of fairly more involved and poignant stories to tackle, but I've said stuff like that before, so it's really not worth getting people's hopes up. But I have some really...
on the other hand, you've said stuff like that before, and then you've gone on and written those stories, so I don't think it's fair to say that...
Not this year. This year's been the year of shit.
I think people still enjoy shit.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's my whole philosophy. That's why I exist, basically.
I think you existed because you're basically everybody on film fiction, and you're also a typewriter powered by Dr. Pepper.
Yeah, which I happen to be halfway through a bottle of right now.
Hey.
Fair enough.
That's
cutting back.
That's going to be the... No, that was like a year ago. That's going to be the excuse... That's going to be the excuse as for when Australia suddenly stops updating is because BRB, kidney stones.
As long as you're prepping for it, I mean, you book out some time in advance.
Yeah, occasionally I stick my head in the closet and I scream out loud while clutching my groin, and I just 10 times a day while doing Kegels,
Well, look on the bright side.
Prepare yourself for it.
Look on the bright side. When you finally get the kidney stones, you'll be on painkillers, and then some of the most experimental works will come out at that point.
And then you can really start working on Bond 12.
Beautiful.
It'll only be one kidney stone, and it'll just be his bladder.
I'm pretty sure Bond 12 won't happen. I got better ideas than that.
Yeah, rip Bond 12.
Oh dear.
Well.
Anyway, Ferret, you called dibs on the question.
You did?
Yes, because it's awesome. This is from Short-Sighted Fan in the forum. It says, after In the Darkness Where I Seek You, The Things Tabby Says, and Couchtavia, whose perspective do you find more enjoyable to write for, Octavia or Vinyl? Because I'm actually really curious to know.
Which stories again? Sorry.
He says, In the Darkness Where I Seek You, The Things Tabby Says, and Couchtavia.
Well, Couchtavia and Thing Tavi Says, it might be a bit unfair to compare them because they're pretty much the same thing. It's a mute protagonist who's more or less defined and exemplified by her disability at the same time. And also, Tavi Says, I'll go on and on about how I don't think that you're looking at the windshield wiper too, Plum.
Yeah. I was just going to point out the sequence.
I was kind of waiting for somebody to comment. That's what I'm doing. I was like, no, I'm going to wait. I want to see until somebody actually makes notice.
Yeah.
You see, the magic trick of that is that he's not using his fingers.
Thank goodness for baby.
That's how you walk through a summer afternoon in Florida.
Yeah.
But what was I talking about? Oh yeah, the things Debbie says. I don't, it's very easy for me to say, oh, I don't like Tabby Says, because it gets fucking featured every day and whatever, but I have an ending in mind for it. I think it's going to be a good ending, but overall I'm not very proud of what I did to Vinyl's character. I just turned her into another depressed Skirtsian fill-in-the-blank character, basically Lyra 2.0 for no reason, I had a moment when I was at the end of book 7 of the Australia series where I realized, all 3 of my daily stories have protagonists are deep in the depths of depression. What does this say?
You're projecting a lot?
I don't know. But as for In the Darkness Where I Seek You, which I never finished, and it's up on Short Scraps and Explosions, that was essentially, Octavia is basically Lyra, because I wrote it so soon after the end of Background Pony, that she's essentially a Lyra fill-in-the-blank, very, very metaphoric, very rich vocabulary, and she's trying to describe stuff in this almost biblical language. I think the story was better than the execution, and that was one of the reasons why I kerplunked. I will argue that my favorite out of all Octavia and Vinyl Scratch personifications was was it chapter 15 of Background Pony? It was the chapter where a bunch of characters sitting in a room, they're all telling vignettes, and it gets to Vinyls and just this fucking acid trip where her dialogue runs off and does a touchdown. It's just really crazy. And I knew I did it right.
Hunter S. Thompson.
Yeah, exactly. And I knew I did it right because one reviewer said, "Never ever write vinyl like that again." Like, score.
I would say when
And
you
you
get
listened to
readers
them?
going, "Why did you do this?" That's a good sign.
Also, with things Tavi says, one of the reasons I wrote vinyl the way I did is because I wanted to go against the norm. I didn't want to make her like a, dude beach stoner thing. I wanted to go somewhere completely different because I enjoy doing that in fandoms, and trying to go against the flow.
Yeah.
I believe the question itself was actually, whose perspective do you enjoy writing from more? Rather than,
well, I just went on a long tangent. I apologize. Well,
No,
I was
no.
trying to.
It was an interesting tangent, which is I think why none of us bothered interrupting you, because it was interesting to hear.
It brings up a very relevant criticism of my stuff, which I hear a lot of, say, Brian Michael Bendis in his comic books, that all of his characters sound the fucking same, and I dealt with that, and I've, suffered from that. On that note, I guess I will say I enjoyed Octavia from In the Darkness Where I Seek You the most, because that's where I would be showing off. It's like when I'm writing Rarity. I really enjoy writing Rarity because something about the language and the attempt at eloquence is just really entertaining, more so.
Fair enough. And while we wait for more questions, let's unleash the ferret one last time.
Okay.
Happily. So you mentioned that you're a fan of flashlight shipping, and I know you've talked about you don't read a lot of other stuff, but have you looked at other flashlight works like D.G. Davidson sort of coined, the name of Brad and wrote a lot of flashlight stuff? Have you looked at his at all?
Who coned Brad? Cone. Brad surgery and had a dog cone.
Davidson.
I'm not aware of that, but I am aware of a deviant artist. I think that goes by DM29. Very cool artist, and I think their art really turned me on to the idea of flashlight because it's just really adorable art, and I like the subtle innocence of putting Twilight with a young Royal Guard character, and something about it was heartwarming. That's where I got the inspiration from. If I read other people's work, I'd be interested because I don't think I've ever seen a decent characterization of Flashlight out of my own, shitty attempts at doing it.
Yeah, he does very, very good stuff. He coined the name Brad before we knew what the character's name was.
Okay.
And so for a long, long time, when everyone was calling him Brad, that was why.
Bastard. Interesting. I didn't know that's where it came from. You learn something new every day.
Yeah. I'd like to know more about where App.Jack came from. Because I really liked that story. I thought it was really, really cute.
Which one?
And for App.Jack, that was basically where Applejack was Siri.
By the way, are we doing too much Q&A? I mean, I'm fine with it myself, but usually...
literally, we have no story reviews to discuss. Okay. So the plan was basically we would just sit and throw stuff at you all the entire time.
The alternative to talking about Fallout 4.
Yeah.
Okay,
and I am so up on... No!
Aha, finally something I can join the conversation on.
No, that was not an invitation. Back in your case.
Okay.
I'm just
back in the drawer.
Just not dominating too much, I apologize.
Appjack... Are you kidding? My plan is to talk to you next about Sunset Shimmy. And that I know C will be interested in.
Appjack is not really a story; it's just pure feature bait. I mean, I think at some point when you're doing a feature story thing, like a feature box story, so much goes into the title and the presentation and such. And it just dawned on me, Appjack, that would be a cute idea. And personally, one of my biggest philosophies of writing is always to write something you enjoy, and I feel like I've applied that to almost all the stories I've ever done, including the crappy, tiny one-shots. And the Appjack, I'm like, well, I think I, for one, would enjoy having a portable Applejack in my pocket. Thank you very much. So it became the best.
I would love, if that was a thing, that would probably actually convince me to get a smartphone.
Yeah,
Applejack would be the tipping point for me. I'd be like, okay, no, I need this in my life now.
It became the vessel by which I could just do pure unadulterated Applejack love in some sort of literary form. I didn't quite expect it to do.
Is this a similar reason for eating apple cider donuts by the fireplace on a chilly autumn evening with the Apple family?
I love it when autumn hits Florida because it's like one of the few times in the year that it gets cool here and it's noticeable difference. So it gets me nostalgic for various different times in the past. And so I was having this manic moment a year ago in October where I was just churning out a story every week or something, and that was one of them. And it was if there is an impetus for that beyond what I just explained, it's that there's no apple dash in it. It's strictly pure slice of life.
Yeah,
And,
no, it's purely platonic. I mean, there's maybe like you could argue it's friendshipping, but that's it. It's not romantic. Shipping.
Yeah, it was
It made me laugh because I was literally making donuts at the time, and then I read the story and went, "Oh God damn it! I need to go buy apple cider now."
That's awesome tastical. It was just something I threw together to try to capture like the what was giving me motivation and like this manic feeling to write a bunch of stories that month, and it seemed to do well with people. People seemed to react nicely to it because it's a slog. It's like what 15,000 words or something, and it's like one chapter. There's barely any breaks in it, so people would have to just have an afternoon to kill to read it, I guess.
Or 20 odd
I
minutes.
have a personal question.
Yay, Red!
6 inches.
No,
That's
no,
how long
that's
Pav's
Pav's
skirt
question.
is.
Skirt is
That's how long Pav's skirt is. That's what it is. But yeah,
Yes.
go on.
Did you ever read Huggled?
Oh, I'm very sorry.
Do you even remember? Or hey, better question. Do you remember the story that it was based off of?
Yeah, I remember what it's based off of, and I apologize I haven't read it. If I had an apology for every story I haven't read, I would just be swimming in it.
Practically everybody besides you read it anyway, so
I know that it was in a feature bar for it's 2 fucking weeks or something.
and it's awesome.
It has to be because mine
Naturally.
wasn't. I will say that the story it is based on is one of the ones. If I had like a top 10 list for like the favorite stories I wrote, regardless of popularity, I really like the one that I wrote. And I'm not saying that just because of how awesome and how better yours is. I just really enjoyed what I wrote, and I'm glad it inspired you to make something better.
Wow, that's quite a compliment. I wouldn't because I wouldn't say better, but
if it's not written by me, then it's probably better.
I would say it's to me, honestly, it's I really like your stuff, Skirts, but I also really love Red Squirrels. But I like them for different reasons.
Yeah,
Like I wouldn't, if somebody goes, which one is better? I go, well, better by Skirts' standards or by Red's. Like, what am I judging or comparing it on? Because I read them for different things. Also, I completely forgot you wrote Trouble at the Finish Line, which is another awesome one.
I'm not proud of that one, personally.
Why is that?
Because it has a trope that's common in a lot of my stories where basically subdued pony rape is funny and cute if they're all adorable.
That was why I thought it was so hilarious, was because it was just like, oh god, he really is using this fucking trope.
Because there's basically non-consensual stuff happening in it, but it's okay because it's silly and cartoony and they both love each other secretly. No, it's so messed up.
Hey, there's something we can connect on, Skirts. People,
yes.
Believe it or not, people accused me of writing mass rape into the end of Huggled. So
we could.
Yeah, maybe a little bit.
We can definitely connect on that. We can dock for that matter.
Yeah.
Give a little support.
Oh, sweet.
That kind of gave way to another question that you brought up. You have written a lot of stories across multiple accounts. What are your favorite 10 that you have written?
My favorite is probably Eternal.
Mm-hmm. I got that reference.
No, what was the question specifically? I'm sorry.
What are your 10
answer
favorite
that
picks
question really quick because there's somebody in the thread who didn't get it. Psycho Motorboat. Device Heretic is another author on Finfic who wrote the story Eternal and was very well known but has since left the fandom. Skirts is not actually Device Heretic.
No, don't ruin my fantasy. No.
SSNE was my first.
There's genuinely someone in the thread who thinks you are Device Heretic, and I felt badly for making fun of him because Device is a really nice guy.
Also, Device Heretic has exactly 2,000 followers at the moment. How interesting.
Wow.
I think he was like number 1 in 2012 or something.
He was very close to the top if he wasn't.
Yeah, and then I think it was...
Penstroke, probably.
I think it may have been Absolute Anonymous or someone else, and then I was getting up to the top, and suddenly Past Sins is uploaded, and I go,
Nope.
Right.
Damn you, Penstroke.
But it doesn't matter because in a year from now it's going to be that haiku guy, whoever he is. Exactly. If I'm going to actually do, I've been thinking, as if this hasn't been self-apry enough, I was thinking of doing like some blargs past fanfic number 100 where I would like list off either my top 10 favorites or like moments that I remember and kind of go all George Lucas-y about myself or something.
So are you basically trying to tell us you'd rather do that in the blogs than here?
I think I would do it better justice, but if you want, I could list a couple things.
Got a lot of stories. Yeah.
How about do like
Well,
top
maybe
three?
not top 10, just some of your favorites. It's still kind
Yeah.
Okay.
How about a couple of your faves rather than numbering them specifically?
Try to do some on the top of my head. I like Harold. Already said that. Theory. That's the one with Twilight Sparkle and doing stuff that I can't say because the description would spoil it. Oh boy. Gift, the Rarity story from 2012.
Oh my god, I remember that story.
I'm trying to think of what else. I think I remember. One of the Flash stories, the one where he's going home.
Oh yeah.
Home in a Flash. It's sort of like parallel to either soldiers or like Mormons coming home from like a long trip, but from his perspective, kind of. I really like that one. I always love and both hate every Australia book I work on, but if I was to choose an Australia book that's my favorite, is everyone's least favorite, and that's Innovator. The book number 3. I think I like that the best.
Why is that?
Because because what it accomplished, even if it didn't have a lot of deep meaning and significance to it, it's the kind of stuff I like to write, and I used to write a lot back in the Teen Titans day, where it's a bunch of different characters doing different things, and somehow all the different threads wrap themselves up at the end. It was before I wrote chapters with line breaks in them, because it wasn't until book 4 that I actually started doing line breaks. Every chapter had to be a scene, and somehow on 200 scenes I had a story with, I think, 5 or 6 different narrative threads with different groups of ponies somehow spread apart and come back together for like a cohesive climax. And
yeah, well, it was really nice because Elgin, you had everyone scattered across all of whatever the place was, I forget.
Yeah.
But then it was just bringing them all back together, and that was really nice to see it unfold.
Mm-hmm. It was a challenge, and more or less did it. And so it had a lot of fight scenes. I love fight scenes. Nobody else does, but I do.
I've read something.
So when they go on for like what?
They're not bad.
Go on.
Who, me?
Yeah, apparently they're not going to go on, but fair enough.
What?
Oh well.
What? Red, go.
No, I was just saying I've read some of the fight scenes because I've read through a few chapters of Australia, and I think the latest one. I remember specifically the climactic scene of Australia where she fights the Dragon Queen, and that was really cool.
Sweet.
That's like 1 chapter long.
I know, but it was one of the few chapters that I read all the way through.
There's a fight with a dragon in Oderjo that's like 30 fucking chapters long. Have fun with that.
I was gonna say.
It's basically Dragon Ball at this point.
Do you even skirts?
Yeah, really. All right, so other questions was, what other shows does Skirts like these days, and do you have any urges to write in other fandoms? So, all right, first off, are there any other shows you're enjoying of late, or is it mostly just ponies?
I've had this temptation to do a stupid crossover where the cast of My Little Pony are like ensigns and lieutenant junior grades on board an NX class starship in the Star Trek universe, like the Enterprise universe.
Oh, that's interesting.
Okay.
And for the longest time, I wanted to do, even though I knew nothing about Green Lantern, I wanted to do like another Lyra is Green Lantern story, but instead, I have surrendered that for a more original thing that hopefully I might do in the not-too-distant future. I have like a book art done for it, and it might become a daily fic months from now, but that'll remain to be seen. As for outside of My Little Pony, something's going to happen at some point, I'm sure, but no, I can't, because I'm so established here. I don't think I could jump ship to something else anytime soon. I suppose the only thing that may have tempted me was I finally sat down and watched both Last Airbender and Legend of Korra, and that shit's fantastic. And fight scenes! Oh my god! You know. So.
We're not losing you to Steven Universe anytime soon?
I have only seen a YouTube video of a Steven Universe song redone where everyone is cats. That's about as much as I know about that show.
I'd say that sums up a heck of a lot.
The internet is a magical place.
So we had another question here from Jake. He was asking, considering that you've got all of this fan art, fan songs. You've had homage fics as well. Like,
I'm very lucky.
how can you speak to that? Like the experience of that of inspiring so many people and touching so many people. You made me break down and cry with Never, I think it was.
Oh, jeez.
So,
You made
yeah.
break down and cry forcibly when you touched him.
Well,
it was the saddest touch.
It didn't take that. You just get
Forcible touch.
a yardstick and just lift the skirt up,
Oh, wow.
Right.
See, I thought it was Paffery, not Patfera.
Oh
boy.
I'm getting the vapors over here.
I'm sure for you, Skirts, it could be whatever you want.
We're running out of ratings to raise this podcast.
Is there there's like TVY and stuff like that? Is there a TV NSFW at any point? Is that a thing?
TV and not safe for life.
Yeah.
Back in the day, when I first began this horrible crusade to invade the world of horsewords, I had the goal to basically accomplish what I've more or less done with help of so many wonderful, editors and friends and support and stuff. So I can't put it all myself. But I remember it's like I was on a freaking mission when I was writing In the Ponies, and even before that, I had dreams that, someday I would have fan art and stuff done. I wanted to be big. I want to make a splash and all that stuff. And I would have like this nightly writing session where I'd be like walking around outside Sedna, which is like an office in our garage where I have like a computer that's not attached to anything. It's like a dial-up mode, and I don't have any dial-up on it. So that's where I do most of my writing. I'd be like walking around out there with a bottle of Dr. Pepper, trying to get the endorphins to flow with adrenaline, and kind of come up with story ideas. And occasionally my head would go to, what if in the future Skirts became a big name and I had fan arts and drawings and stuff? And that's happened. And it's fantastic. But I always kind of get this feeling, and I'm very grateful for it, and I really love it. But I also kind of get this feeling that no matter what I do, I'll probably never be satisfied because I'm not producing as much as I want to, if that it makes any sense. Or there's so many projects in my head that are unfinished. No matter what I ever do, I'll never get the big imposing shadow of In the Ponies off from my brain bone. That's one reason why I never appeared at cons, aside from the hatred of flight, is that as soon as I sit down there in front of a bunch of neckbeards, they're gonna be like, "So, In the Ponies," and fire escape. Yeah.
That's why you come to cons and you bring me along. I'm the ultimate defense.
Or
you go incognito.
No, come to a con as Blue Harvest.
Yeah.
There you go.
But it is mind-boggling because when you get to a spot where you can't produce enough blogs really to share the kind of stuff that people have made out of their own creativity and goodness of heart, and it doesn't help when you're an asshole like me who never really responds to PMs and stuff, because my excuse is I don't have the time, but also because I don't think I have the sincerity to read and review other people's stuff, because no matter how much time and effort I put into that, I always feel like I'm missing out on making my own material, and I have to be like a freaking locomotive. I tried to change that. I have done some occasions where I've read other people's stuff, but it's almost always like 4K long ship fix, because that's what I enjoy.
Right.
So, let's see. We've got another question from Jake. You've written millions of words of Australia, and most of that is focused on original characters. When are you going to write original fiction, you fuck?
Is that paraphrasing?
That was a good Jake. 8 out of 10. Yeah.
So it was.
Yeah, that was pretty solid.
I think to write original fiction, you have to have talent.
Well,
Skirtsy.
I don't know. There's
when you say
authors out there.
say original characters, it's more than that with the Austreo stuff. Usually the original characters are named after people who read the stories. And the magic of the Austreo series, and to some extent Appledashery and other things that I've written on a regular basis, is that because it's a daily exercise, I can make connections to the readers in ways that professional writers can't. Can you imagine that guy ever naming people after his friends and loved ones before killing them off with with
Can you
Al
imagine
Lannister or whatever.
George R. R. Martin's friend called Jon Snow, who gets told he knows nothing, and then, well, actually, no, I'm not gonna say anything because that's spoilers for people.
He dies in the first book, right?
Something like that.
Well, just the
He got
Martian
beheaded by
started out.
Joffrey Lannister, right? That's how it worked.
But when you're doing horse words and you're writing like My Little Fall Cupcakes is a Vampire Australia, you
Please write that. Please write it.
you can comment directly to people. You can incorporate them into a story, which even though it might seem forced, is still in some extent natural, and it makes people feel special. Makes you feel like you have a connection. You can't do that in original stuff because you pretty much have to sacrifice your vision to be accommodating to what the publisher needs and the audience that they're seeking. And I don't think I quite had the wherewithal to do that. I think I would much rather, if I ever got in professional writing, I would write absolute cardboard drivel just so I could have the funds and resources to write fan fiction and get enjoyment from that.
Well, The Martian started out like that. It was being uploaded on a chapter-by-chapter basis on a blog, and the author was getting into regular communication with the people who were reading it.
I think that's also how,
and then became a movie.
I think that's how House of Leaves did it as well, if I'm not mistaken. So yeah, keep that in mind.
There's options.
Things to consider.
I have contemplated doing stuff that might assist me if I was to make the transition, but it would involve me doing a lot of hypocritical things based on what SS&E has been so far, such as removing the scary link from the donations button on the top of my page. But that's a work in progress.
Oh, dearie me. Fair enough. I'm trying to think of all the things that have a similar sort of author interaction. Like obviously, The Martian was mentioned. Was Metro 2033 uploaded all at once? Because I know that was published online because no one in Russia wanted to publish anything that featured Moscow getting nuked. So.
I think it was published all at once online under an alias.
Right.
And then when it got good reception, the author came out and saying, "Hey, this is me."
Yeah, that's the thing.
Published.
He published it online and then went into actual publishing and also video games because of it. So.
Yeah.
Very good video game, by the way.
Oh yeah.
Oh, definitely. Much better than Fallout.
Also, Fallout, totally freaking work on.
What?
What?
I said also an awesome freaking story you should work on.
Oh yeah, Red.
I'm kind of with skirts on this. Eventually, you get to a point where you realize you're not writing the way you used to write, and I'm not sure. I would basically have to redo the way I tell Metro if I wanted to be happy with it.
So do you think basically you'll never finish it?
Basically, I mean, and once I'm done with Prince of Dust, anything is possible. But
that's fair. No, just my thought was if you're probably never going to finish it, would you be willing to do a blog post sometime saying like, here's what was going to happen?
That might be interesting.
Because, I fully accept that, yeah. Or just, that was book one, here's book two. Yeah. I just, for a lot of authors, I can fully accept that, it takes time and effort and whatnot. And occasionally you just fall out of love with a story. But I always find it kind of frustrating when they're like, yeah, I'm not going to finish it, but, screw you, I'm not actually going to tell you how it was going to end. And like, please?
Well, wouldn't it be worse?
You're not going to finish it, but could you at least tell me what was going to happen?
I think part of it is people say they're not going to finish something, but then they know deep down that they haven't quite given up on it, that they want to
they want to maintain hope.
That's often a case of it, and I can fully accept that. It's just people who are like, no, I'm honestly never finishing this. I'm taking it down, like I'm leaving the fandom kind of thing. I can respect that, and I understand that, but like Cavandia did that with his Prince of Ponyville stuff.
Yeah.
Like, I'm never going to finish it. Here's what was going to happen. Here's what I had planned out. And I really appreciate stuff like that. Like, if you're not going to finish it, it's still nice to know what might have been.
Even though I hated the way he ended it, so I'm kind of glad he didn't finish it.
That's what I was going to say. Wouldn't it be worse if, like, you were waiting for a story to finish, the author comes out and says, hey, I'm not going to finish this, here's the ending, and then he just vomits crap. And then it just turns out everything's going to go to hell, and you're just like, well, now everything's worse. I don't know.
I don't find that. To me, there is a satisfaction inherent in finishing something.
So you're just there for the closure.
It's there is a sense of closure that you gain from it. I'm not there just for the closure, but definitely I like being able to get that from a story. I like being able to go, okay, this is the end of things, rather than sort of going. There was somebody I really ripped apart at one point. Not, I mean, ripped apart in my sense, which is, I maybe sounded slightly annoyed.
With ferret launch
Ferret
missiles.
savaging someone is going, I'm very disappointed and unimpressed, It's not me going and
in
screaming
an
at people.
aggressive manner. Yes.
Just the angriest-eyed little pout. Just.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh dear.
No, but it was because they finished a story,
Mm.
and they were like, okay, I'm done this, I'm finished book 1, we're going to start book 2, and it was like, well, how are you finished book 1 when you didn't finish the plot? You literally wrote half the story and went, okay, that's book 1, and I went, no. Book 1 is when you finish the overarching plot of book 1. You don't do half the plot and then go, okay, now I'm starting a new book.
It's like a 2-parter episode, basically.
I think what he's going for there is what happens in publication. Like when you have a trilogy, it's all one overarching plot, but it's separated out into 3 books.
That's the thing, though.
So I think he's going for that feeling.
Well, but there are still
that's
individual
what he's
plots
going
in
for. I
each
think he's
plot.
wrong because the medium allows for him to put it all in one thing.
No,
Well, it's not even that. In stories, in order to finish a book, you need to finish up some major plotline, at least, or have some major development, at least. There needs to be some
exactly.
sort of story.
And my issue with this one was there wasn't that. It was literally, here is the overarching plot line, here is the plot of this book, and then halfway through the plot of okay, we've made a slight development, okay, now we're going to book 2, even though we haven't actually finished the plot of book 1.
Right. Yeah.
And I don't know, it really bothered me. Because it was just well, why am I going to read this? Because you seem to just be arbitrarily choosing when the books begin and end that actually has nothing to do with the flow of the story itself.
I think he was going for that trilogy feel, but he just had no idea how to do it. So
this does remind me a bit of the Hobbit movie, where they ended up splitting it into 3 movies. And it's just no.
I don't know. I really liked Hobbit 1, dwarves running away from things.
Dwarves running away from
really
things.
Showed those stuffy little legs moving.
Featuring the bad guy who was in the book for 1 line. Yeah. Yep. That sounds about right. And then, wasn't it book 2 was basically they spent half the time running away through the elves' country, bobbing up and down through barrels.
And then the other half was spent running away from the dragon.
Yeah. I know, they actually did ride in barrels in the actual book.
Yeah, they did.
Yeah,
that was pretty cool.
Actually, Weta put up a really amazing video on their YouTube.
Yeah.
Of them actually taking a bunch of the animators and sending them through the mocap process, so they'd have a better idea of how to do the animation editing details, which was really neat. But I still kind of looked at it and went, that scene looks like it was totally meaningless. It looks really cool, but I really feel like it wasn't really necessary to the plot.
Well, that's the thing. A lot of the stuff in the barrel scene in the movie was actually really heavily changed from the way it was in the story, which sounds
the story was really simple.
Well, the movies themselves were kind of just like a big old celebration after finishing the original trilogy.
They're just, oh my god, it's done!
Yeah, it's what's the issue with 1 more? But then they're all, hey, wait, we can separate this into 3.
I mean, the criticisms I can level at this kind of remind me of the criticisms that Matthew Matostis leveled at the Oddworld remake, the Abe's Odyssey thing. In particular, there was one cutscene in the original Abe's Odyssey, which was basically Abe ends up falling into a barrel, stands up in the barrel, gets knocked out by a pipe, and as he falls back down into the barrel goes past a couple of guards who then don't notice him because he's lying unconscious in the bottom of the barrel. And you compare that to the...
Sounds like Abe's Odyssey.
That is Abe's Odyssey, 100%. And then you compare it to the remake version, which is Abe lands on the lands on the conveyor belt, and he lands next to sprigs or whatever they're called, those big monster things with giant teeth, and spends 10 seconds being comic relief, dashing around, and he dive rolls off the edge to avoid the guards, and it's just you've missed the theme there. The theme in the original one was, this guy is not a hero, he's an idiot. That's his thing. He's not built for this. Whereas instead you've got him diving around to dodge monsters and ducking under guards, and it's a kind of a cool shot, but it's not well, it's not in the theme of the story.
There is another
what I
question.
found with The Hobbit.
There is another question from Floridian Slip.
Yeah, we do have a
there's
question.
actually
He's asking,
has some more questions too as
Skirts,
well.
what's the one idea that you haven't already written that you most want to write besides the tricksening?
Just the one idea.
Yeah, I was gonna say, are we really going with one here? Isn't that sort of like asking how many drops are in the ocean?
I'm thinking about that one scene for the Dragon Ball Z movie where like Gohan is dancing with the dragon.
Oh God.
And also from Avatar, where the two
I
of
was
them.
just gonna say.
Yes.
Scenes that make no sense, but they just go on and on.
Yeah. Where clearly somebody really loved that idea and had enough clout to shoehorn it in.
Exactly. I, of course, have lots of ideas for upcoming stories, and half of them, in trying to explain them, would like ruin the actual delivery, I think. So there's a Rainbow Dash story I really, really, really want to write, really crazy hard, and it's we won't go into details, but it deals with Princess Luna and with death. And then there's
is this the sort of like mortality version of death, or is this the more Terry Pratchett sort of grim Reaper kind of death?
I was gonna say.
This might be
Which
revealed.
death are we talking about? Are we talking about like Neil Gaiman's death?
This might reveal too much, but I'm going to you reference the Star Trek Next Generation episode Inner Light.
Ooh.
But and there's another.
I know which one that is.
I think I do.
There's another idea I want to do, which I think I can actually talk more about, which is it starts off in Equestria Girls universe, and it's about Sunset Shimmer after the events of Equestria Girls 3, coming to terms with like her past and her sins, and it reveals that when she arrived in the human world through the portal, she wasn't exactly bent on world domination yet. That sort of blossomed later on, and it reveals that like that Flash was there for her and kind of helped support her when she first became human, but then she ended up going full villain and establishes that she found her human counterpart, her human doppelganger, and forcefully drugged and banished her into a distant part of Equestria so that she can fulfill her plan. And now that it's after the events of Equestria Girls 3, she comes to terms with the fact that I still have this one blemish on my conscience that I have to correct, and she tells Flash what she did, because it turns out Flash was already the boyfriend to the Equestria Girls version of Sunset before the Pony version came over. So basically, Sunset banished his girlfriend before the breakup ever happened, and he goes ballistic and is like, you female dog, you caused this, blah, blah, blah. And so Sunset decides to go on a journey into Equestria to find her, but then Human Flash tags along, and it becomes this sort of buddy but not buddy travel story as they're both going to try to right Sunset's wrong, and you kind of see them going over their past relationship and the sins that Sunset had done and stuff. It's like a journey tale, but
That's really fascinating.
with heavy really like that. Yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
What do I need to do here? What do I need to do to make this happen?
Well, you could write the tricksening for me. I don't know.
No.
I think considering at least one of us is wearing a skirt here, you could put on a skirt too. Jeez, Your Majesty.
Yeah, I mean, come on, see.
Wait. What if instead of a skirt, it was a kilt?
I mean, that's
I
wear short shorts all the time.
Now, C squared, you should get
but see, you're not wearing one right now.
In that position.
Aside from that, I've had the story I want to write for forever called Sugar Cube 7, which would basically be my version of Cupcakes. It would be extremely fucking dark. It's just insanely gory, over the top, just every rating you can imagine.
Super duper not safe for ferret.
Exactly, and
but it sounds right up my alley.
The gimmick is that it would be my attempt to write and I guess like a mix of present tense, first person and second person, a textual equivalent of a found footage movie, like Cloverfield or something.
Oh wow!
Every detail would be almost like phrases and words to describe, almost as if the what you're reading, the fic, is actually someone's narrow periscope of a view of stuff going on, and then it would pull the Cloverfield trick of like segueing between the events happening currently and a past memory memory that is fused to the character's psyche. But it would basically be like Rosemary's Baby meets Cloverfield or something. But
that would be quite fascinating. And I mean,
it'd be very gruesome.
I think you do. Yeah, but the impression I get is that you do handle dark stuff very well. As I've said, it's not safe for ferrets, so I don't read your dark stuff. But I know quite a few people who do, like Sock, who are, connoisseurs of such things, who do say good things. There is one quick last question, sort of comment thing from Psycho Motorboat, who says, I know Skirts is super busy with his 3 dailies. I know he's entered 1 or 2 of the write-offs. I know it's not his style, but do you have any thoughts to go back?
To go back, you say?
To doing write-ups, yes.
Yeah.
Also, he says, your fight scenes are freaking legend. I never thought I'd enjoy reading fights, but holy hell, they are epic Rainbow Dash keys.
Well, that's what I'm hoping to accomplish, but most of the time they're skippable material.
At least you succeeded.
Most of the time I enter a write-off, it doesn't hit like number 1. I mean, statistically speaking, it's bound to happen at some point. It is a fun and engaging experiment, but I don't seem to be cut out for competitions. Like, I feel like back in the day when I wrote Never, it was like, oh, it's either going to be Never or this story. Well, Never was really long and crazy and awesome, so it's going to get second place.
Hey, considering the competitions,
that's unfair to whoever got first place. But I feel like I tend to defeat myself. My stuff is overdrawn and kind of just long-winded. It's not really good.
I believe the usual definition is you can tell it's Skirts because he doesn't use editors.
You're right. That's true.
Which, to be honest, I like. To me, that's a hallmark of your style, is when I do feel like reading something really long, I will usually go for your stuff because I often enjoy that kind of work, because you go into the amount of detail that I really enjoy. Because I am an absolute whore for background descriptions and character pieces, and you do that.
Plus fight scenes.
Yes.
Plus fight scenes.
But a lot of your fight scenes are in your really dark stuff that is not safe for ferret. Oh dear.
I guess that could seg into one final question from me.
Yeah, we are going to have to wrap this up soon, so let's bring it up to a close.
We just wanted to ask Skirts, what exactly is your editing process?
You mean the complete lack of one?
Fair enough.
Right,
okay.
I usually upload a chapter and I make sure it isn't like all in bold and italics. Like, oh, good to go. No,
like story approval then. Yeah.
When I'm really serious, I do enlist friends to help me out. I've had Tweak, who's been stalking this stream, helped on occasion. And back in the day, Roz helped me with Background Pony. And I think there's at least 1 or 2 chapters where even Seattle Light himself made some comments on Background Pony and assisted with something, so I listed him.
Wait, who?
Seattle.
Never heard of him. No.
Nobody got that.
Was that in Violet Text?
Apparently he's some dude.
And, I would never, ever have gotten to where I am now if it wasn't for Vimbert, who, the first story I ever wrote was this atrocity called I Remember Rainbow Dash, and it was back on Pony-chan in 2011, and I thought it was the bee's knees. I thought it was awesome, and and of all the people who were doing reviews, I thought Vimbert's, thing was like the trial by fire, and I gotta get this guy to look at it because he doesn't seem to bullshit. And so I sent him one, and when he I think I waited days for him to do his review thing of it. When he did, his avatar changed and was on fire and had demon eyes, and what's a vindictive review? What? And I learned quickly how shit I was. And
the vindictive reviews.
Yes, and
we'll do that.
And I think any sane, self-respecting person would just say fuck it and complain in the Equestria Daily box or whatever. But I this proves that I'm full of it and I need to try harder. And so I took this story of mine that was this sort of comedic fic about Rainbow Dash and fuck it, I'm gonna go all dark. What's popular right now? Fallout Equestria. Okay, let's go to a apocalyptic wasteland. Let's do a time travel thing. And wait, he liked it? And then sure enough, he reacted positively to End of Ponies, and the rest is history. If it wasn't for the fact that he burned me, that he took something that I thought was awesome and told me the truth that it wasn't, I wouldn't be anywhere today. And so even though I might be a lazy asshole who doesn't do a lot of editing these days, I wouldn't have made anything of significance if it wasn't for his intervention, and it's worth being stated.
So the moral of the story is, people, get critical reviews, and if you're interested in becoming a critical reviewer, we actually happen to have a couple of panels up on YouTube.
Oh, you shill. Oh my god.
Did you expect anything else, really?
No.
Unfortunately.
So apparently now we need a story about ponies being awesome but never getting off their segways, according to Talaris, who also says, "Boo, your hardcore skirts, and yeah, your fight scenes are awesome, like that Applejack squirrel pic." And yes, Talaris, I know it is fair safe. I have read and love that story.
Call me hardcore. I'm not the one in the short skirt right now.
That's
This
true.
is true.
That's true.
Well, again, Pav can always just call it a kilt.
I'm seeing some hair, and it's not his beard.
Ooh.
As long as it's not on his balls, I think we're okay.
Yeah, I think that'll do.
I think that was the joke.
I think that was the joke. Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, but you're a really hairy dude.
I am.
It's true. There was an awful lot of leg hair earlier. I want to
exactly.
admit that.
I'm quite certain.
We'll need someone to freeze from earlier, zoom in, enhance.
We need an impartial judge to determine who is hairier, Pav or Skirts, but we'll have to do that after we stop the broadcast because I think we'll get banned from YouTube if we do.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
I have a pic somewhere, I'm sure.
I'll have to go up on RedTube or something.
Oh my god.
I quit that a long time ago.
So this is just for everyone EQAD then? Not
Yeah, exactly.
Have to go back to my Twitter
The
pics.
EQAD edit of the latest panel.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
All right, should we say goodnight, folks?
I think we're going to have to wrap it up there. Thank you for coming on the stream, Skirts. This was highly entertaining.
Awesome having you, Skirts. I hope we'll have you back again sometime.
And we didn't even talk about Fallout 4, so...
Wait!
So
Fallout 4?
Suck it, sock!
See you later, you melon fucks.